Just us.
Much nicer.
I heard somebody come in.
That's a much nicer view than it used to be,
What?
that screen view. Someone has done a good job of organizing the view.
Yeah, well.
It shows the whole council.
usually
Yeah.
Not, that's not in a good spot.
Well, it's in the view.
Yeah, it is, but when somebody, usually somebody gets behind there,
Yeah.
you can't see them, but anyway. All right, so we have a very short agenda today, so you could get home for dessert. I just wanted to give an update on all the programs that we got going. Here's a list of
Remove trees? No.
activities that
Oh.
we have in process.
Yes.
If we could get them finished, we would get points towards Sustainable Jersey certification. So, but some of them are going to take a while. We have a deadline of, I think it's the end of July to submit for certification for this year. You know, we had certification last year, we were awarded bronze, but if we could get another 100 points, we could go for silver, which would be a phenomenal thing for Egg Harbor City. So I'm going to see what we can get done this year and submit it. There's July deadline, and then there's a November. Like if you do the November deadline, you don't get recognized at the Sustainable Jersey Luncheon. But if you could get it done early enough and they could review everything, you know, that they'll let you be in the program booklet. Here's agenda. I brought 3. My computer printer was down for a week, and I just was online today with Apple and got it working. So while we were correcting everything, I printed out 3 drafts. I never finished the agenda, and then I had to get back to work again. So a little frazzled today. So anyway, the first thing we're working on is this climate vulnerability assessment technical assistance program.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a mouthful, and it's hard to say climate vulnerability assessment. And we've had 2 meetings online, and we're scheduled for another meeting. We'll probably meet like once a month to start discussing climate vulnerabilities in town. So
That's state or federal?
that's just local for us, just for Egg Harbor City.
No.
So what do you think would be some of the climate vulnerabilities that we have?
I can think about that and let you know.
Yeah, so my concern is mostly fire. I think we're susceptible to fire, forest fire, and flooding in certain areas, which.
That's very well covered in several agencies.
So we
including
want
FEMA.
flooding and fire.
Did we talk about this last
Heat.
time?
Yeah,
Okay, I know I heard it.
like if we should get like really hot days or and winter storms.
I would worry about also people who don't have air conditioning on a very, very hot
Yeah,
summer.
that would be the heat element, which if we talk about it and discuss it, we would have to have like cooling centers where people could go to cool off, either senior center or maybe one of the schools or something like that, where, but they have to be equipped to handle the influx of some people.
Yeah,
We don't have anything in town for like a code blue thing, do we? Like, cause I know we have homeless living around here, but like in the winter time when it's very cold and they do that code blue and places are open.
similarly cold winters, yes.
Yeah. But I remember somebody asked me about it like last winter, if we had anything like that here. I said, I don't think so. I've never heard
No, well, I guess they would say go to the shelter in Atlantic City.
it. Yeah. They
I
can
mean,
get that.
but how many homeless do you think we have? I saw we have one today sleeping over at the building across from Lincoln Park.
I haven't seen the man with the dog in a while.
They call him Blanket Man.
There's a woman. that's
And I
got
saw a
car.
woman recently with the cart. So I don't know where they're coming from. They're not ours. They can't be ours.
Okay.
I mean, with all the food and stuff we give out, they gotta be coming from somewhere else into town.
I saw somebody sleeping, like was sitting, leaning right up against the liquor store that used to be the Heritage. The Heritage Market,
Which one's that?
where Wawa was here and Heritage was
Oh,
here.
yeah. There,
Yeah. That was Heritage a while ago.
yeah. Um. All right,
Another local disaster that we've experienced before is called a derecho,
Hmm.
the wind
I was
problem.
just talking about that the other day when that happened.
well, last time we had that derecho, it was what, 2012, and we lost 109 trees.
I know,
And
I
it
wasn't
cost
there.
$30,000 just to clear the streets.
Mm.
I remember that specifically.
I think Reed said that at that house on Chicago Avenue, there was no power for like a week or 2 weeks it took to get power restored.
Yeah,
Another disaster, which is not exactly climate, is COVID type epidemics.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, because you never know what's gonna happen these days. Where right now we got measles going around,
Mm.
people not getting vaccinated. So these are all the things that we'll probably have to discuss in these meetings. If anybody wants to attend these meetings, they're Zoom meetings. I could send it out, let me know,
These are
and
in the middle of the day though, right?
yeah.
There are everything, almost everything that I get an email about, I'm like, it's like in the middle of the day.
Well, you know, people that work at the college, the
Yeah.
university, they want, you know, they want to do it during the day.
Yeah.
They would do something at night if that's what you wanted, but it would have to be a Zoom meeting.
That's fine. I feel like. Don't most people work during the day?
Well, I take off,
Yeah.
you know, that, with the Zooms, they want to do them like around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
So they figure that's your lunchtime and you could jump on.
yeah, I'm in group from 10 to 1.
And then the other thing, we're doing, that's us, that's the green team is doing that. Complete Streets Policy Assistance Program, the engineer got us involved in that one. And that is, complete streets, you know, for all, it's complete streets for. And Green Street, complete and green streets for all users. So our streets should have everything everybody needs to get around. We should have the bike trails, bike accessibility, walking. People in wheelchairs should be able to get around. You know, the handicapped. The roads should be, and the curbs and sidewalks should prevent flooding, should be designed so that the flooding doesn't come on the property. Traffic signs,
I can think of a number of infill type sidewalks that need to be put in.
infill
including one
sidewalks.
near your house.
Which one? The one on the end of the block?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of them on Buffalo Avenue. The 300 and 400 blocks, I mean, I'm sorry, the 400 and 500 blocks will be done soon.
right.
So they will put the infill sidewalks when they do that, and they'll put, I think, curbs. And then, you know, we're doing the trees too, so. And shade is one of them. To have, you know, be able to walk around town, you need shade.
I would say shade on Philadelphia Avenue would be,
Wouldn't that be wonderful? I hate those trees.
well, I'm talking about. About a quarter of all the shops that come out to the curb, out to the sidewalk, have
Awnings?
awnings, yes. Some of them are built-in awnings, they're not, just not, you can't roll them up.
Yeah, that's a good, that's a good, that's a good,
When I
suggestion.
mentioned that at planning board meetings, I always get derision,
Well, remember they had one at the,
especially from Ed Lloyd.
Who's Ed Lloyd?
Ed Dennis.
Yeah, they had that one that was taken down
Yeah.
in front of the auto supply store on the 100 block, and that was taken down. And that was controversial when they took that down. And but no, I don't think anybody else has awnings. They have little awnings,
You can't.
like
Didn't Ed and Rick's have one?
The street trees themselves, but they have good leaf.
Ed and
leafage
Rick's. Oh
here.
my gosh, that's where the park is now.
Yeah.
I don't remember now. They didn't have
No.
awning. They had,
I can't remember what I did yesterday. I don't know why. I
they had
think I
big
can remember
plate
something
glass
30
windows
years
with a
ago.
Coca-Cola sign in it. Remember?
Mm.
So that's something we're doing to the complete streets. That should take about a year to complete. We're also doing a heat island assessment, and that's being done by a young fellow who works for Atlantic Soil Conservation District. And he's using our Davy tree inventory that we did, and he's extracting everything from there. And that heat island assessment will show the hot spots in town. Like, if you ask me where they are, I mean, I know where they are. Philadelphia Avenue is a hot spot. There's no shade there, even with those ginkgo trees.
It would be nice, especially like during the food truck festival.
Yeah.
And stuff, when you got all those people.
And our streets are very wide. And, you know, most towns don't have streets designed like ours.
Right.
They're very wide. We have wide cartways, and the sidewalks on Philadelphia Avenue are humongous.
Yeah.
And that.
By the way, they need some of them need,
Already, yeah, and that they're
well,
all
you know
right.
why that happened.
Well, because they did it in the heat of the summer.
Yeah. Well, they didn't do it right. They could have done it in the heat of the summer if they did it right, but they didn't do it right.
Yeah, what do they call that, spalling?
Yeah.
When it just, so, and those sidewalks are very wide, and it just reflects the heat back up into the atmosphere.
Well, it's surprising what the color of the surface, what a treatment of the color of the surface can do to reduce heat. If you reflect rather than absorb on incident light, that will cool things down enormously.
You think?
People who have cities that have whitened their sidewalks have noticed a huge difference. There's a literature of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Makes sense.
If you've got the money, another failed concept in Egg Harbor City, that is, it was a good concept, but it failed to be implemented properly, was the original idea of using the terraces for utilities. Some streets use the streets for utilities.
yeah, and you get more density.
It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you're exactly, well, that's part of the problem we're having now, trying to clean up and get people to clean up the terraces, is because it's back there. It's at the back of your house.
I-
Everybody leaves all their shit back there and doesn't clean up because they don't see it. But it's, no other town has that. We're the only town that has
I
that.
was just cleaning up the terrace.
Tucson, Arizona has it.
Do they?
Yep.
Is it dirty back in their terraces?
Yes, but it's dirty everywhere in Tucson.
Is
It's
it?
a desert area.
I think
Sand blows all over.
just 2 weeks ago, I went out with a grabber and, you know, recycling bag, trash bag, and did the whole, you know, the whole terrace, and I went back there today to take my trash and recycling out, and I gotta do it before it gets dark because I get scared. And I'm like looking up in the pile, and I'm like, it's trashed again. And it's, one time I had you know, the big trash can, I don't know what the size is, right? I went up and down the terrace, and just the shooter bottles, I filled a big trash can, like 3/4 full.
Oh my gosh.
3/4 full. So many. Fireball is the favorite. But because the liquor store is right there at the corner, so they go to the liquor store and they walk down the terrace and they do the shot and they just toss it.
Wow. Well, you know, we're talking about, the city council's talking about purchasing the 96-gallon toter
Yeah.
on wheels for trash and recycling.
We put a can back there. Oh, I didn't. Reed put a recycling can in the terrace, like just kept it there, hoping that they would, you know, be, oh, there's a can. I'm gonna, but no. So there's still, I've sat And because the porch at the house goes right up to the sidewalk, and I sat there, it was really nice, and I would watch people driving down the street. Tossing the airplane bottles out of their car.
It's the
they
culture
drive
of
there.
town. I mean, I had a story that I used to tell about me and my ex-husband when we would go to the concerts, the free concerts in the park,
Mm.
and we went to Gaskill Park. And now Gaskill Park is a county park. It's impeccably groomed. There's no weeds in the lawn. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Is that the one
And
Mason?
yeah, it was
Yes.
near the bulkhead.
Behind the
Yes,
library,
yes.
county
Right,
library.
right.
And so I was sitting there and we were in beach chairs and there was a guy, he showed up and he just sat down in the grass. He didn't have a blanket or anything. And he was smoking a cigarette. And I said to my ex-husband, John, what do you think he's going to do with that cigarette when he's done? And he said, oh, I don't know. So about a minute or two later, he takes the cigarette, dyes it out on the bottom of his shoe and puts it in his pocket.
That's what Reed does.
And I said, now you take that same man and bring him to Lincoln Park. And he's going like this. He's going to flick that cigarette and it's going to burn a hole in the grass. And, you know, it's your product of your environment. If you're in a trashy area and it's dirty, well, you know, the first impression is, well, I can be trashy too, you know.
Well, you've just brought up the subject of Lincoln Park, so how about, they're not gonna take down the pavilion, are they?
Yeah, mayor wants to take it down.
I think she ought to go out of office.
Tell her.
The gazebo? Just like what, just dismantle it?
Well, they're tired of the pickets being kicked out of the thing.
Oh, Reed had an idea about that.
And, you know, I think that they don't like people hanging out there.
Mm.
And personally, I think it's probably a little bit historic because there's been a gazebo there for over 100 years.
Not exactly there, but somewhere nearby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Isn't that there in memoriam, in the memory of somebody, there's somebody? Or am I thinking of something else?
Frank DeClementi,
Maybe?
the guy, he used to be code enforcement officer, he used to fix it.
Okay.
He would go out there and replace the pickets. But to me, it's been neglected since he passed away.
Yeah.
And, you know, they go out there maybe once every 2 years and replace the pickets. Those pickets have been out for a long time.
Mhm.
And because somebody went out to the park to clean it up for the Memorial Day ceremony, they got upset and, you know, now it's coming down. And I'm like, I don't approve of it coming down. Personally, I think it's historic and
if a vote were taken, would it pass?
well, it's going to go to, Joe Keener said to discuss it in the Parks and Playgrounds, next Parks and Playgrounds Committee meeting. But, you know, it's got to get past committee and then it's got to go before the board.
And will it pass? If,
Will it? I don't know. I have no idea.
okay,
I think it would be a shame to take it down.
I think so too, but you know, they're concerned about
There were volunteers that went out there, there was the church, a couple of years back, they painted it. I think it was during COVID. But I mean, people,
you know,
care
and
about it and
personally, I
take care
feel
of
as though, you know, the city's always been cash strapped and they do neglect their properties. You know, that they don't maintain their properties like they should.
I mean, take all of the spindles out and just keep the railing.
Well, that's
That
what
would
they
be-
did. They did take the
Yeah,
spindles down.
so then that solves that problem.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I don't know, but all right, and then we did do pass an ordinance. I think it passed at the last meeting. It's called the Green Development Checklist, and what that is we have a long checklist of green development opportunities for builders who come in and build a project, whatever, commercial, residential, whatever. And it just gives them recommendations on where to go for information and for things like geothermal heating and solar and EV charging stations and you know, green roofs and stuff like that they can do when they build a project. And the way the ordinance reads, it's It will be in the packet of information they give developers and builders when they go to the code, to the building department to get a permit. They'll give them this checklist. The stuff that's in there is not mandatory that they do, it's just mandatory that they fill out the form. So we passed that, so we will,
Is trees in there? Street trees?
yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah, I think so. So those are the things that are going on right now. We have a lot of other stuff too. That would give us points. We're doing brownfields investigation. And that would give us 5 and 10 points. You know, that's we got I think we're eligible for up to $500,000 a year for several years to do the brownfields investigation. So we're working on that. We're doing public vehicle charging stations. They should go in
2 of those, yeah.
on Philadelphia Avenue, and the county's gonna do them in Lincoln Park at the back of, the parking lot back there.
Do we get points for that? Is the
Yeah.
County's doing?
Yeah. We get 15 points
In
for
front of the
that.
library,
It's gonna be in front of the
Okay.
collective,
in front of collectives, okay.
because they have a parking lot in the back, so if any business goes in there.
So, but it'll be on the Philadelphia Avenue side.
Yes, right in
Okay.
front of the bank. What used to be the bank, it's just a vacant building. We could get 15 points for that. We have the green development checklist, we're doing, we just did a safe routes to schools. Well, actually, school district did it, like a student travel plan, which streets they should use and so forth. We're doing the hazard vulnerability study. Complete and green streets, speed island assessment. If we ever get our tree protection ordinance adopted, hopefully sometime this year, probably towards the end of the year, that'll give us some points that we need to do that. We're in the process of doing I was just talking about before you came in, our community forestry management plan. It's already, we already have a draft of it. That'll give us 20 points for that. And that's a lot of points. And that's being done, we're paying for that through the grants that we got. We already did the tree hazard inventory. We're doing tree maintenance plan, so Jerry works on that, and we do it piecemeal. Tree planting, so that's 30 points there just for our tree efforts. So if we could get all this stuff put into the application, we'd have 495 points. Which is like, that's never gonna happen. Oh, and purchasing of the buckets, if we do that, that would be considered litter prevention. At the toters, so.
Willie Benz.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and I'm really happy to see that because, we've worked for years to get to this point where things actually start happening through the city council, not just our volunteer efforts, so. So that takes items 1, 2, 3. Okay, right now there are 2 grant opportunities available for us. They're small grants of $5,000 each. They're being offered through Sustainable Jersey. It's the Atlantic City Electric grants that we were very successful getting over the years. I think we got 3 so far. The first one is called a resiliency grant, and that is to protect the city against climate change and things like that. And the other one is environmental stewardship, which would be like we did over in the nature trail. And so we need to discuss if we're going to apply for both grants. If we apply for both, that we can apply for both grants, but they're only going to award one.
Okay.
So I think we need to talk about what we think we should apply for. I have 2 ideas, but I want to hear from everybody else to see if they have any ideas on what we can do. the first idea for the resiliency grant would be to do a forestry plan for the wooded areas of town, the areas beyond the lake. Because that's where I think we're really susceptible, because the forest hasn't been managed for over 100 years. And there's a lot of debris on the ground. So
It just means being aware in the spring, which is the season for controlled burns,
right,
and getting the people to
yeah,
do
you
it.
have to get on the schedule though,
That's right.
right? And so if we could do this forestry management plan, what we would do is just give the $5,000 to a forester, and they would come in and do the investigation and fill out the report, just like we're doing with the urban forestry. So it's a whole separate area of study. Urban forestry is different than forestry management. So, but I talked to 2 foresters so far, and they both said the same thing, that our forests are, you should have been at that meeting. It was over at the Canale Center. That was a really good
Right.
meeting.
You know why I wasn't there?
No,
That was the night I was required to attend a training session for poll workers, and they guaranteed it would be done in 1 hour. And it went for 2.5 hours, and I was not permitted to leave.
oh my gosh.
I did that on a Saturday morning and they moved the time up a half an hour. Like it started a half an hour earlier.
They what?
They started it a half an hour earlier than, because like I got the letter that said 10 o'clock. And I happened to get there early. And I was like, why are we starting? It's only 9:30. And they're like, oh, they changed the time. I was like,
You still let me know.
how was I supposed to know that? Like I just happened.
Just when you think they couldn't have made the registration process more difficult, they did. They now are gonna process, what do they call the ballots that aren't official?
Provisional,
Provisional ballots, that's gonna be done on the machine now,
really?
yes. But instead of staying in the machine, the piece of paper comes out of the machine and you have to file it,
So it'll just scan it.
yes, and they print it. So that a machine can read it some other point. So it saves a lot of the hand balloting work.
Right, right.
Now, I've got a better idea, I think, just me, for what to pursue in this town, and that is community solar, and that is, you can't let Atlantic Electric touch it, because they're toxic. And you have,
What do you mean? you
Rick
can't
Dovey
let-
to know all about, to tell you all about it. Community solar means that somebody like the ACUA or some other entity will advertise for subscribers and build a solar field somewhere in town that can connect up to Atlantic Electric's network. And then each person who has a home that wants to belong to that has to pay into that, but it comes out to be much less. You save an awful lot on electricity that way.
Well,
It's done,
that's not the way it's done. The way they do it is.
another way they do it, and
the
that's not really
developer-
community solar.
Yes, it is. We did all this. Was an action we did for. A developer comes in and builds a solar
Right,
plant.
but not for Egg Harbor City, for the whole of South Jersey,
They get the solar and it goes to the power grid,
right?
and they get
I know,
SRECs and credits.
right,
To make a community solar, residents, all they have to do is say, I want to be part of that. They sign up and they get.
but I don't call that community solar, I call that
That's the way-
corporate solar.
That's the way it's done. It's
Well-
a discount on your I signed
Get a
up.
20% discount,
I signed up for the solar plant that's coming online in
November.
Millville.
Oh. Okay, there are 4 of them in South Jersey, all dealing with the whole of Atlantic Electric's network.
Yeah,
And I want one to be just for Atlantic City.
well, if this is part of our brownfields investigation, because one of the brownfield sites is the old dump.
Yes,
So we're talking about
Problem there
possibly,
is there's no way to connect to
yeah,
electric.
there is, because it's next to the
So
industrial.
there's no capacity.
Yeah, there is.
All right,
They can do it there.
okay.
And somebody has already expressed interest in doing it. And then if that should happen and go through, then we could share that with the community, and you are allowed to. The city is allowed to say who is eligible
Right.
to become a member of it. Is it only for senior citizens? Is it only for citizens? Is it only for, or is it going to be
People,
open?
low income,
Right, income level, or is it a geographic area around the
Right.
city?
right.
So the city would get to make that decision. But personally, I think if we're gonna do it, and it's already in, that it should be just for our citizens. And
There is one operating in New Jersey in the far northwest.
it takes forever, because
And you know about
it's because of the.
Rick Dovey's experience in Pleasantville, which failed.
Not well.
He built the solar field over his dump and it's right underneath the Atlantic Electric main lines that bring the power in. And he signed up all the people in the low income new housing in Pleasantville, and Atlantic Electric eventually said no.
So what are they doing with all the energy?
They're not even turning it on. It's just sitting
I'd
there.
have to
Talk
find
to
out
Rick,
more about
he'll
that.
tell you all about it.
So at one is resiliency grant, which, did I say what, I lost my train of thought. I'm starting going off on solar. Resiliency. Oh, the forestry and management plan. So that's one opportunity for that grant. And then the other one, the environmental stewardship grant would be something like an improvement to a park,
Hey, what?
like an improvement to a park.
Like maybe the gazebo in.
Yeah,
Lincoln.
yeah, that could be one.
A new gazebo. Yeah.
Well, except it's only $5,000, and those
So just like
gazebo
a renovated, like just
for repairs.
fix it, yeah, fix up what's already
Yeah.
there instead of.
I covered a story in Longport. They had land donated by a wealthy woman. And they're making a park, and they bought a gazebo from the Amish,
Mm.
and the Amish came and built it. It cost them like $65,000.
Yeah, that's a bit much, but yeah, I think with $5,000, we could fix that one up. Maybe replace the.
Gazebo repairs
tickets with, like,
and,
metal.
and then another idea I've had for years that I would love to see happen is to put a labyrinth in Peace Pilgrim Park. Where people can, walk for meditation. I have a picture of it, I think, somewhere in.
Are they
Barbara Reynolds in on this?
She would love it.
ever
She's
gonna
not, but yeah, she would love it.
enforce the no dog thing? And then I saw a video on Facebook
One,
a week or so ago of somebody's dogs were like. In the water over there running around. And I'm just watching these videos.
there's so much glass in the bottom of that
I'm
thing.
like, this is not a dog park. But people think it's a dog park.
People do what they want. Where's the labyrinth?
I just don't understand how it's like right outside of the police station and nobody. Like, how does that
It
not
was
get
just
enforced?
me.
Is it like the Maze and The Shining? Cause that would be fun.
Here.
Huh.
And
What is the material?
it's brick.
Oh.
It's just the lining of brick into the ground. And so you can mow over it.
Mm.
And they did it for like. Not much at all.
Cost of the brick.
Just the cost of the brick. So I would like to see that in the park on the. Behind the growth of trees on that, what's that street over there?
So Liverpool Avenue.
Yeah. And it's just brick, and they did it, but volunteers did it. They did a nice job. And the brick is recessed into the ground. So the guys, when they go mow, they can mow right over it. What do you think?
I think it looks like it's up out of the ground though, but I guess it is man, just on the ground.
And I talked to this fellow last year,
Yeah.
he said, it didn't cost us much, we just had to buy the brick.
Need to get a,
I think that would be a nice addition to that park.
ask the dogs.
The dogs.
Crazy.
So they're the two ideas, so the question is, do we apply for one, or do we apply for both and get rejected for one?
I mean, you got better odds if you.
Since you're gonna write them, you can decide.
Well, I don't know, because I think the resiliency grant and the forestry plan is probably more important than doing the labyrinth
Mm.
or the gazebo. But, thinking like, you gotta think like the grant reviewers. They're gonna get more mileage out of a labyrinth, publicity wise, for their organization than they would for, like a study that's gonna be a
Right.
document that's gonna, you know what I mean? So that's the decision. Do I apply for both and get rejected for one, or just apply for the one you really want?
Do
Or
we
the
have,
one that's more important?
do we have a track record on labyrinths
No.
where they've been,
Well, this place is in Gloucester Township.
in what town, what community? What-
They're on Facebook. I forget what the name of the town is.
A wealthy commuter belt community
No,
or a
no.
rural?
Yeah, like a town like ours. So Monroe Township,
Okay, that's suburban.
say. That's Sustainable Monroe Township, and that was the green team that did it too.
Okay.
And they have events there all the time.
Yes.
They have a lot of,
It's a wealthy community,
is it?
I think so.
Huh, I didn't know that. Well, it didn't cost them much. It cost them like under $1,000, I think. And I would wanna, if we did it, I would wanna hire somebody to do it. I don't think we should. Yeah, I did the peace sign herb garden years ago, and that was a challenge. My ex did the math on it to make it the right design and everything. And it was fun because when we did it, he stuck a what do you call a stick in the ground and measured the length and just made the circle with spray paint. We tied the rope around. It was interesting how it got done, but it was getting the right, because it's not exactly in the middle.
Right.
It's like, so that was a challenge, but we managed it. And I remember doing the brick, and we dug out and put the brick in. I don't know where we got the brick. I think somebody donated the brick. It must have been left over from a job or something.
Easily get it from a brick building that's being torn down.
Yeah. So that's the decision. So if you guys don't have a preference, I'll talk to Jody and maybe Jerry or whatever, see what they recommend. Other than that, we just have our final event this weekend for the Spring Environmental Series. At 10 o'clock is the potting party in Peace Pilgrim Park. So bring a pot, and Jerry has some Pro Mix, and I'll go to the garden center and buy some plants. People have been signing up online. I don't think there's a lot, but I haven't been promoting it too much because
I have some tomato seedlings. Should I bring them?
the little ones.
They're about this high now.
Yeah, sure. Did you grow them yourself?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if you don't mind giving them away,
Sure.
Sure, yeah, bring them. And then the other thing is the water day. You want to talk about that?
No, I have no idea what it's gonna be like, but
Okay.
you've seen this? Came in the mail today.
Oh, really?
No, I heard.
See, they spend a fortune on that. It's American Water's doing a water awareness thing. We were asked to table at the event. I don't have anything planned this weekend, but I can't move that tent. It's too heavy. And unless I get help from our members,
gonna
I'm
be a
not
water
gonna sit
slide?
there in the park for 4 or 5 hours.
Well,
You saw what they sent last week.
Well, yeah, you're getting, your bill's going up. You got that letter, right?
yeah.
Yeah, the 2 years is up. And that's all I have. Anybody have anything? We could get out of here early. No?
I'm,
I would just like you to talk to Rick Dovey about community solar, see if what can be done. Please.
All right.
I've been interested, but have not been able to find anybody that can explain to me how to do it, like, the applying for grants, like, I would like to learn how to.
Learn how to apply for grants.
Yeah.
Well, the grants, the Sustainable Jersey grants are very easy
Okay.
to do. They're not difficult at all. In fact, they limit you to 500 words. You know, when you apply,
Cause I'm
you
not.
know, they just want to know, what do you intend to do?
Yeah.
And if they have questions, they'll ask you.
Right.
Those grants are very easy to apply for. And, you know, the other grants were more challenging.
Yeah.
The federal grant we had to get Triad to do it. Because as soon as I got in there, they ask you for a lot of forms and policy things that I don't know about that stuff. Jody had to give input on that. And then we decided, let's just pay Triad with, I think it was $3,500
Yeah.
to apply for that grant. And it turned out to be $1 million, so it was a good parlay.
Yeah.
But the state grant for the trees, I applied for it. But it's because I had two other grants that I had gotten from them. And it was just basically telling them, you gotta tell them what they need to hear, you know, and like, you gotta put yourself in their shoes. And personally, because I'm a writer, I think I'm a better writer than the average person.
Okay.
Whereas when I read the Triad grant, I was like, oh my God, we're never gonna get this grant. It was wordy, it was lengthy, and I'm like, these people are tree people. You don't have to explain to them the
Right.
benefits of trees. They already know. Just get to the point and write your sentences so that they keep reading and they could get through it. Because you figure you're gonna have a panel of people sitting around the table reading all these grants. You know, you want them to be able to get through it and
Without falling
understand what you plan to do, you know, instead of sentences and just poor writing, very, very poor writing. And I was like, oh my God, we're never going to get it. And I had to edit it and give them some pointers on how to like shorten their sentences. And she did. I think she was a little annoyed. But I'm an editor. What do you want me to do? You know, you got to tell the story and get to the end of the story. You know, people don't have a lot of time especially if they're reading it online, you know. And I do that every day for a living. And sure enough, we got it. I was like shocked. But I'm very grateful to Triad for doing all that type work. They do offer grant writing courses that you can take. If I
Oh.
see anything, I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
let me know.
You should have to pay for that.
Maybe it's not gonna be in the middle of the day.
What probably will be,
Of course it would.
you know, and so I'll grant writing. Oh,
Love you, one.
all right, anything else, folks?
You're gonna do a monthly,
Newsletter?
yeah,
No, I got till Friday to get it done, huh? I didn't even start thinking about
did I
it.
send you something?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Send me for June,
yes.
anything for June. Yes, I would gladly accept it. And what else do we have? That's it, I think. City Council. Do I have anything else coming up? No meetings until September.
For us, you mean?
for us. Cause I'm too busy. Waterfest. Peace Pilgrim celebration, I think, is on the 21st of June. I think I have it in the wrong month. I think it's in July. Our birthday's in July, isn't it? Yeah, July 19th.
Saturday?
It's a Saturday, yeah. The Zion Lutheran Church here in town is having a local heroes dinner on the 21st of June. I guess that's for
What?
heroes, I guess for like police and fire,
No.
the citywide yard sale.
The
Oh, no, that's-
the first
That's in August.
weekend in August. First Saturday. Be the first, second,
I'm getting all my. Fireworks will be
oh, you're gonna report all those things
the
in there.
12th.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you to report. I haven't seen the streets cleaned for a long time. They
Yeah,
have
they-
a gadget that comes through the gutters and
Wasn't that
sweeps it
broken
all
or
up.
something?
Yeah, the street sweeper was being repaired. So they just spent money on it to get the old street sweeper repaired, because that does a better job getting into the gutter and taking out all the gunk, because it's got wire brushes on it.
Right, right.
So they spent some money, like about $5,000, $6,000, and got that older one repaired. And then the newer one has like different type of, that just goes brushes. It doesn't have this type of thing. So, because the wire brushes pull up.
But I
dirt.
would like to see the schedule, so I know when to move
Yeah.
my car out.
Well, Jerry's gonna work on that, hopefully. We'll work on that.
Is he good so
Yeah.
far?
Yes, very, oh my God, yeah. He's done a lot already. He's done a lot. I'm gonna turn this off.
I noticed his car out front. It
Yeah,
says city arborist.
Yeah, he's got the arborist thing on. All right, good, we're done. See you, folks.